My brother's wife is accusing me of sabotaging her pregnancy because I refused to let her use my guest room. But the medical reports tell a different story. My older brother, Daniel, has always been my rock. We grew up very close, especially after our parents divorced when we were kids. He is the kind of person who always seems to have a solution for everything. The kind of brother who, even if we do not talk every day, I know will be there when I need him. That is why, when he married Lauren 3 years ago, I tried to get along with her from the start. Not because I felt an instant connection with her, because honestly I never did, but because she was my brother's wife, which made her part of our family. But something about Lauren has always made me uncomfortable. It is hard to explain. At first, she never did anything openly malicious. Instead, there were little things. Passive-aggressive comments disguised as jokes, sideways glances when I said something she did not like, and an air of superiority that she tried to mask with a fake smile. At first, I ignored it, giving her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe we just had different communication styles. Besides, Daniel was happy, and that was what mattered. But things slowly began to change after their first wedding anniversary. Lauren stopped pretending to be cordial and started showing her true colors. Her tone toward me became colder, more condescending. She made me feel like an outsider in their home and always found a way to minimize anything I said or did. Still, I tried to keep the peace. I did not want to cause problems between her and Daniel, so I kept my distance and limited our interactions to family gatherings. That brings me to a few weeks ago when Lauren made a request that left me speechless. She called me on a Sunday afternoon, which was unusual since we never talked on the phone. When I picked up, she was surprisingly friendly, almost overly cheerful, which immediately put me on alert. After the usual greetings, she dropped the bombshell. She wanted to use my guest room for the duration of her pregnancy. According to her, she was expecting her first child, and due to previous complications, her doctor had recommended that she rest in a calm, stress-free environment. My house in a quiet suburban area was, according to her, the perfect place. I politely explained that it would not be possible. My guest room is not just an empty space. I use it as my home office. Even if I wanted to help, I could not reorganize my life for 9 months. Lauren did not take it well. There was an awkward silence before she responded, and when she did, her tone was completely different. She accused me of being insensitive, of not caring about her baby's well-being, and of being selfish for refusing to help during such an important time in her life. I tried to explain again that it was not about a lack of empathy, but she was no longer listening. She hung up abruptly. A few minutes later, I received a message from Daniel. He said he understood my position but asked if I could reconsider, for the family. I replied that I was sorry this was causing tension, but my decision was final. I thought that would be the end of it, that Lauren would simply find another solution. But it was only the beginning. In the following days, rumors started spreading. Apparently, Lauren was telling our relatives that I was being deliberately cruel and did not care about her high-risk pregnancy. She even implied that my refusal to give up my guest room was affecting her health. Suddenly, I began receiving texts from my mother and aunt, telling me I should be more understanding and that these things are not forgotten in the family. Meanwhile, my cousin Ryan called to tell me to ignore everyone because it was obvious Lauren was exaggerating. But by then, the damage was done. The narrative that I was sabotaging her was spreading fast, and I had no idea how to stop it. Worse yet, Daniel started to distance himself. He never said it outright, but it was clear that Lauren was turning him against me. One night, he sent me a message saying that if anything happened to the baby, he would never forgive himself for not doing everything possible to ensure Lauren was safe. I felt betrayed. This was my brother, my lifelong companion, and now he was doubting me because of his wife's lies. Until then, I had tried to stay calm and avoid making things worse, but something in me shifted. I was not going to let Lauren destroy my relationship with my brother or continue to tarnish my name. Something about this whole situation did not make sense. And if no one else was going to defend me, I would defend myself. Update 1. It has been several weeks since the phone call that started this disaster, and things have only gotten worse. I have been trying to go on with my life, focusing on work and avoiding Lauren's drama. But it is impossible to ignore. Every day there seems to be a new accusation, another cruel remark. I am starting to feel like the villain in a soap opera. Lauren has escalated her campaign against me. She is not only bad-mouthing me to our family, but also to mutual friends and acquaintances. The other day, one of my mother's friends called to advise me to stop being selfish because a baby is at stake. I was speechless. How can someone be this manipulative? Family gatherings have become unbearable. During a recent dinner at my parents' house, Lauren made sure to mention me at every opportunity. She started by saying she was exhausted because some people do not understand what it means to have a complicated pregnancy. She added that, despite trying to stay positive, stress was taking a toll on her health. Everyone knew she was talking about me, but no one said a word. I felt like I was on trial, being silently judged. Daniel, on the other hand, is clearly torn. I can see it on his face every time we talk. Part of him does not want to believe I am the person Lauren is making me out to be. But on the other hand, he is being worn down by his wife's constant complaints. Recently, he sent me a long, confusing message, essentially asking me to make peace with Lauren for the sake of family harmony. He asked me to make peace with Lauren for the sake of family harmony. When I replied that I did not understand why I was the one who had to give in, he left my message unread. We have not spoken since. But the worst part happened a few days ago. In what I believe was a deliberate attempt to humiliate me, Lauren showed up at my parents' house while I was there and began recounting, in excruciating detail, everything her doctors had supposedly told her about her high-risk pregnancy. She claimed that stress was raising her blood pressure and that the baby was in danger if she did not find a way to relax. Then, looking straight into my eyes, she added, "But of course, some people just do not care about these things." I do not know how I managed to stay calm. My blood was boiling, but I knew that reacting aggressively would only give her more ammunition to use against me. Instead, I forced a fake smile and acted as if her words did not affect me. My mother, however, did not help. She looked at me with disapproval and then turned to Lauren and said, "I wish we could do more for you." More? As if I was not the victim here? To make things worse, one of my friends, who works at the same hospital where Lauren is supposedly receiving treatment, told me something odd. According to her, there was no mention of stress as a primary cause of complications in any of the medical records for pregnant patients. This left me both intrigued and skeptical. I do not want to believe that someone would lie about something as serious as a pregnancy. But with Lauren, I am not sure of anything anymore. I feel trapped. With each passing day, Lauren seems to gain more ground, and I lose what little credibility I had left. My mother and aunt, who have always been important figures in my life, are clearly on Lauren's side. My cousin Ryan, my only consistent support, tells me to be patient and let the truth come out on its own. But what truth? If I do not act soon, Lauren is going to destroy my relationship with Daniel and my reputation in the process. I am considering taking more drastic measures. I do not know exactly what yet, but I need a way to prove that I am not the horrible person Lauren is portraying me to be. And if there is something suspicious going on, I will not hesitate to expose it. For now, I am watching and waiting, but I promise you I will not sit back for much longer. It has been 3 weeks since things started spiraling out of control, and in that time, everything has escalated. Before, Lauren was just spreading rumors to ruin my reputation. Now, it seems like she has turned it into a personal mission. Her ability to manipulate people and twist the narrative is both impressive and infuriating. And the worst part? While she gains more allies, I feel more isolated with each passing day. However, this past week has given me reasons to believe that things may not be as they seem. The most recent incident started with a phone call from my mother, something that has become a regular occurrence lately. This time, she woke me up early on a Saturday morning, her voice trembling with concern. Lauren had supposedly had a health scare related to her pregnancy. According to my mother, Lauren had felt dizzy and had trouble breathing the night before, leading Daniel to rush her to the hospital. According to my mother, the doctors managed to stabilize her but made it clear that she was at high risk if she did not reduce her stress levels immediately. "And you know what that means, right?" My mother said in a tone I recognized all too well, accusatory, expectant. I knew exactly where this conversation was headed, but I let her continue. "It means she needs peace, calm, and you could provide that." That was the final straw. After weeks of being attacked and slandered, hearing those words from my own mother was a low blow. I clenched my jaw and responded as calmly as I could. Mom, I understand your concern, but I still do not see why this is my fault. I am not against Lauren or her pregnancy. I just said I cannot give up my room. That should not be a crime. She did not want to hear it. Before hanging up, she left me with one final stab. I just hope you will not regret this if something terrible happens. After the call, I sat on my bed for what felt like an eternity, trying to process everything. Yes, I was furious. But beneath the anger, a small doubt began to creep in. What if I was wrong? What if, by standing my ground, I was actually putting an innocent life at risk? But something did not add up. This entire situation, the way every conversation, every family gathering revolved around Lauren's pregnancy and my supposed role as the villain, made no sense. Why was she working so hard to paint me as the bad guy instead of focusing on her own health and the baby? That same day, as I tried to make sense of it all, I received a message that left me stunned. It was from Sarah, a close friend of mine who worked as a nurse at the hospital where Lauren had been taken. Hey, I do not know if this is relevant, but I checked last night's records. Lauren was here, but something does not add up. What she is describing as pregnancy complications does not match what I saw in her medical report. Of course, I cannot tell you more. It would be unethical, but I think you should pay attention. A chill ran down my spine. What did she mean by that? Was Lauren not as sick as she claimed? Or worse, was she exaggerating or even faking everything? My mind raced with possibilities, each one more outrageous than the last. At first, I felt guilty for even considering that someone could lie about something as serious as a pregnancy. But then I remembered all the inconsistencies, all the things Lauren had said that never quite made sense. For example, why did she always speak vaguely about her doctors, never mentioning names or specific diagnoses? Why did her symptoms change depending on who she was talking to? That was the moment I decided I had had enough. I had tried to keep the peace. I had ignored her accusations. I had endured weeks of being the target of her smear campaign. But now, with this new information, with Sarah's new information, I felt I had real reasons to suspect that something much bigger was going on. I decided I needed professional help. Someone who could uncover the truth without me having to get directly involved. That same day, I searched for a private investigator. I found Richard, a man experienced in family cases with a reputation for being extremely discreet. When I explained the situation, he was not surprised, as if he had heard similar cases before. He told me that these things take time, but he would do everything possible to find inconsistencies or proof that could clear my name. I gave him all the information I had, the dates Lauren claimed to have had complications, the vague names of the doctors she mentioned, and even details about the family gatherings where she made her accusations. Richard assured me he would start working immediately. In the meantime, I tried to act as if nothing was happening, but it was difficult. Every family gathering felt like a public trial, with Lauren finding new ways to make me look bad. During a recent dinner, she once again brought up how hard her pregnancy had been, and how some people simply did not understand the importance of support. As expected, my mother immediately agreed with her. I, on the other hand, stayed silent. There was no point in fighting back, not when I hoped to have the evidence soon that would finally end this farce. Still, I could not shake my anxiety. What if I was wrong? What if Lauren was actually telling the truth, and this was all just a huge misunderstanding? But my instincts kept telling me otherwise. There were too many things that did not add up, too many unanswered questions. For now, all I could do was wait. Richard promised me a preliminary report in the coming days, and I was crossing my fingers that he would find something to help me understand what was really happening. If Lauren was lying, I swear I would not stop until I exposed her. But if I was wrong, well, I would have to face the consequences. Either way, I was not giving up. It has been 2 months since I decided to hire Richard, the private investigator. And what he uncovered not only confirmed my suspicions but also left me completely speechless. I never imagined things would reach this level of manipulation and deception. What started as a family dispute over a guest room has turned into something worthy of an investigative show. Now, I have in my hands the kind of proof that could change everything. Over these past weeks, I have done my best to stay calm and act normal, but it has been difficult. Lauren has not stopped her passive-aggressive attacks at family gatherings, and my relationship with Daniel is practically shattered. He barely speaks to me, and when he does, his tone is distant and cold, something I have never experienced from him before. It hurts deeply because Daniel has always been my biggest supporter. But now it seems like Daniel has chosen to believe Lauren's lies. A few weeks ago, during a family dinner at my parents' house, Lauren arrived late, as usual, making sure everyone noticed her entrance. She sat at the head of the table, resting a hand on her stomach, which, by the way, still looked just as flat as it had 3 months ago, and started talking about how difficult her pregnancy had been. According to her, the doctors were increasingly worried about her health, but thanks to her strength and the family's prayers, she was holding on. What really caught me off guard was when she looked straight at me and said, "Sometimes the people we least expect can be the ones who hurt us the most. But I have faith that everything will turn out fine." My mother, as always, comforted her, while my father looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I took a deep breath and stayed silent because I knew I would soon have the truth on my side. And that truth arrived a week later. The revelation. Richard called me on a Friday morning. His voice was calm but carried a hint of disbelief. "You need to see this in person." We met at a cafe, where he handed me an envelope filled with documents and photographs. First, the medical reports. According to Richard, Lauren had indeed visited the hospital on the dates she claimed, but not for pregnancy complications. In fact, the medical records showed she had never been pregnant at all. Her visits were for minor symptoms like dizziness and headaches, which doctors attributed to stress or, in some cases, dehydration. There was no mention of a pregnancy anywhere in the reports. Then came the photographs. Richard had followed Lauren for a week and discovered that, far from being on strict bed rest as she claimed, she spent most of her time at a rented art studio, working on her projects. In one of the pictures, she was even seen carrying heavy boxes, something no one with a high-risk pregnancy, or even a normal pregnancy, would do. But the most shocking piece of evidence was the final puzzle piece, an audio recording. Richard had managed to obtain a recording of Lauren talking to a friend at the art studio. In it, Lauren admitted that the entire pregnancy was a lie, a manipulation to control Daniel and the rest of the family. Her real goal? To get me to give up my guest room. Not because she needed it to rest, but because she wanted to turn it into her personal art space. "It is perfect," she said in the recording. "The natural light, the space. It is exactly what I need for my projects. And if I have to fake a pregnancy to get it, then so be it. Daniel's family is so easy to manipulate." Hearing those words felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over me. On one hand, I felt relief. I finally had concrete proof that I was not the horrible person Lauren had painted me to be. But on the other hand, I felt an indescribable rage. How could someone be so calculating, so cruel? Lauren had not only played with my family's emotions, but had also destroyed my relationship with my brother, and Lauren had ruined my reputation. I spent the entire weekend analyzing the information, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew that would not be enough. Lauren had manipulated my entire family, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew the truth, to leave her nowhere to hide. I decided to organize a family meeting at my parents' house. I convinced my mother that we needed to talk, that I was concerned about Lauren's health and wanted to ease the tension. It was not easy, but she agreed. The meeting was set for the following Sunday. Until then, all I could do was wait and prepare. In the meantime, I did not tell anyone what I had discovered. Not even my cousin Ryan, who had been my only ally. I wanted everyone to hear it at the same time. I did not want to give Lauren a chance to twist the narrative before the truth was revealed. Sunday was just around the corner, and honestly, I could not wait to see how Lauren would try to justify what she had done. If she thought she could play with me and walk away unscathed, she was about to get the shock of her life. Update 4. Sunday arrived, bringing a storm of emotions I could barely contain. Nerves, bottled-up anger, and a burning desire to clear my name. The family gathering at my parents' house was set to be the stage where everything would come to light. I had spent days preparing every detail, making sure nothing was left out. This time, there would be no room for Lauren to distort the truth. From early morning, the atmosphere in the house was tense. My mother looked visibly uncomfortable, likely believing this would be another confrontation between Lauren and me. My father, though more reserved, had an inquisitive look in his eyes. Family members arrived gradually, aunts, cousins, and, of course, Lauren and Daniel. She walked in with her usual air of superiority, resting a hand on her stomach, which, again, looked as flat as ever, and wearing an expression of false vulnerability. Daniel, on the other hand, seemed exhausted, as if he was fed up with all the drama but still determined to stand by his wife. Once everyone was present, I took a deep breath and stood up. I could feel my heart pounding, but I knew I could not hesitate. I looked at each person in the room and began speaking with a calmness I did not know I possessed. Thank you all for coming today. I know the past few weeks have been difficult, and I want you to know that it was never my intention to create tension in the family. But I also believe it is time to clear things up. There is something very important you all need to hear. The silence in the room was heavy. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, some expectant, others clearly skeptical. But what I noticed most was Lauren's gaze. For just a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes, as if she knew what was coming. For weeks, I have been accused of not caring about Lauren's well-being and her so-called high-risk pregnancy. My refusal to let them use my guest room has. For weeks, my refusal to give up my guest room had been used as proof that I was selfish and cruel. I had tried to stay calm, but I could not just stand by while my name was being dragged through the mud. So I did my own investigation, and what I discovered was something none of them expected. I placed Richard's documents, photos, and the recording transcript on the table. Then, looking straight at Lauren, I said, "Everything Lauren has said about her pregnancy is a lie. She was never pregnant." The room exploded. My mother gasped, my father frowned in confusion, and my aunts whispered among themselves. Lauren tried to cut me off, raising her voice, but I did not let her. "Here are the hospital reports from the dates Lauren claimed to have complications," I continued, holding up the papers. "There was never a pregnancy. Her visits were for minor issues like dehydration and dizziness. There is no record of prenatal care." I watched as Lauren's confident expression crumbled. "I also hired a private investigator," I went on. "Here are photos of Lauren working at an art studio, carrying heavy boxes, something no one with a high-risk pregnancy would do." Then I played the recording. Lauren's own words filled the air. "If I have to fake a pregnancy to get the room, then so be it. Daniel's family is so easy to manipulate." My mother covered her mouth in shock. Ryan, my cousin, slammed his fist on the table in rage. Silence filled the room. Daniel slowly stood up, his face filled with disbelief and anger. "Is this true, Lauren?" His voice was shaking. "Did you lie to all of us?" Lauren stuttered, scrambling for an excuse, but there was nowhere left to hide. Finally, she stood up, pointed at me, and yelled, "This is all your fault. You have always wanted to ruin me." But this time no one defended her. Even my mother, who had supported her from the beginning, stood up and said, "How could you do something so horrible? You made us believe we were going to have a grandchild. You lied to all of us." Without another word, Lauren stormed out of the house, leaving Daniel behind, stunned, broken. He did not say anything. He just sat there, staring at nothing, while the rest of the family tried to process what had just happened. The gathering ended soon after. Many of my relatives apologized for doubting me. My mother, in tears, hugged me. "I do not know how we can fix this, but I am so sorry, my daughter." For the first time in months, I felt some relief. The truth was finally out, and Lauren could no longer manipulate anyone. But I knew this was only the beginning. The consequences of her actions were about to catch up with her. Final update. It has been 6 months since that explosive family gathering. Exposing the truth brought relief, but it was not the end of the drama. What happened afterward was a series of consequences Lauren never saw coming. She vanished completely, no calls, no family events, avoiding everyone. Daniel stayed at my parents' house for a few days trying to process everything. We had several tough but necessary conversations. He was devastated, not just angry at Lauren, but struggling with the realization that the woman he had chosen to spend his life with had deceived him so cruelly. One night, as we sat on the porch, he finally said, "I am so sorry. I do not know how I could have believed her. I guess I just wanted to think she would never do something like this. But now I see how blind I was. You did not deserve any of this. It was bittersweet. I was relieved he finally understood, but I knew our relationship would take time to heal. I told him I did not need a perfect apology, just his effort to rebuild our bond. He promised to make things right, and since then we have been working on it. The trust is not fully restored, but at least it is a start. Meanwhile, Lauren did not stay silent for long. After weeks of disappearing, she tried to shift the narrative. First, she claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that she never actually said she was pregnant, only that the doctors had been unclear. When that failed, she changed her story again, blaming emotional distress and pressure for her actions. She even had the audacity to message my mother, asking for understanding, claiming she was also a victim. But my mother, once her biggest supporter, simply replied, "Do not ever contact me again." From that moment, the entire family cut ties with Lauren. My parents made it clear she was no longer welcome, and my cousins and aunts followed suit. No one wanted anything to do with Lauren after her lies were exposed. But the hardest blow came when Daniel decided to end their marriage. The divorce was quick and relatively simple since they had no children or shared assets. Still, Lauren did not leave without a fight. She tried to paint Daniel as the villain, claiming his lack of emotional support had pushed her to act as she did. But with the entire family backing him and the evidence I had gathered, her lies did not hold up. In the end, the divorce was settled in Daniel's favor, and Lauren walked away with nothing. I also took my own steps. After consulting with Ryan, my lawyer cousin, I sent Lauren a formal letter demanding a public apology for her false accusations. The message was clear: if she refused, I would take legal action for defamation. Knowing she had no way to win, she agreed. Her apology came in the form of a cold, insincere email sent to the whole family, clearly just an attempt to comply with my demand without admitting fault. But I did not need her words. My victory was exposing the truth and restoring my reputation. That email marked the last contact I ever had with Lauren. Life slowly returned to normal. Though the scandal left its mark, our family felt closer than before. The tension between my mother and me eased, and for the first time we had an open, honest relationship. In a recent conversation, she admitted, "I was wrong to doubt you. I never should have taken sides without understanding the situation." As for Daniel, he is still recovering emotionally, but he is taking time to reflect and focus on himself. I have reminded him that he should not carry guilt. Lauren was a master manipulator, and anyone could have fallen for her lies. As for me, I am at peace. These past 6 months have been a challenge, but they have taught me an important lesson. Sometimes, you have to stand up for yourself, even when the world seems against you. I also learned that, while family conflicts can be painful, the truth always finds a way to surface. Lauren tried to destroy me, but in the end, she was caught in her own web of lies. Now, I look toward the future knowing I did the right thing. And while I have no desire to ever hear from Lauren again, I cannot help but wonder, somewhere out there, she must be regretting underestimating the one person who decided to fight back.